From the Tennessee General Assembly and the House of Representatives, he joins us here in studio. Hello, Scott.
Good afternoon, everybody.
How you doing?
Not a bad week in the General Assembly. Not a bad week.
Okay.
Moving things forward for the people of Tennessee.
I believe you. I want to play a clip for you and to get your reaction to the clip without comment by me. This is a clip from action that happened earlier today. For those who don't know, in the 113th General Assembly, every morning, I think this is the 35th day?
Every start of session.
Well, I understand they do that, but I think this is day number 35. I think that's right. One way or the other, at the start of every session day, a representative has an opportunity. I think there's a sign-up system with the clerk. Mm-hmm. Representative has an opportunity to present a member of the clergy, a constituent most often, that offers a prayer, and then that representative leads the body in the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America.
That's correct.
Which is nice. This is what happened this morning when Representative Justin Jones took to the podium to offer his prayer. Right after the prayer.
Representative Jones has declined to say the prayer. He asked for someone else for their assistance. Leader Camper, are you asking?
Are you giving me all the audio I got? That's all I got. I'm sorry.
Pledge. Salute. Pledge.
Okay, so Speaker Sexton there said he's declined to say the prayer. He meant the pledge. And we've now seen the sheet of paper that Representative Justin Jones offered saying, I would prefer not to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Signed, Justin Jones. What's going on there, Scott?
Well, you know, people that are seeking relevance in life try to keep stirring up the pot. We are there. First of all, it is a moment for us to ask for prayer. We have people from all over the state. We had a leader of the Choctaw Nation came in today and led a prayer in their native language. And Representative Vidal, who does speak Indian, or Native American, I should say, he translated and he said it was one of the best prayers he's ever heard about asking for wisdom and guidance, people working together peacefully. And then Representative Jones, being Representative Jones, has to continue to just fight back. And my father served in World War II. He fought for a flag, like many people in this country have fought to defend the freedoms, not only here, but around the world, to protect people. To have a representative on the General Assembly's floor decline to not lead the prayer, but also not speak it, because I watch him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched him too. He just stood quietly.
He doesn't put his hand over his heart. And to pledge an oath to protect this country, I swear an oath to the Constitution, to defend this country, but you won't pledge the allegiance to the flag that represents this country, is just, once again, it's Justin Jones being Justin Jones. I really wish, Matt, that you get him on your radio station and let him explain to the people, not of Tennessee, but to the veterans in his district that maybe have voted for him, maybe have not voted for him, to really take a look at, is this the individual you want representing you in the General Assembly that expresses your values? I think the answer there is probably not so much.
So I suppose that it's up to him to decline whether to lead the Pledge of Allegiance or not. I just have a difficult time understanding. I don't know that there's anything the body necessarily can or should do except to highlight to his constituents that he has such a disregard for the same United States of America that made it possible for him to get elected into a position of leadership in the General Assembly. He has such a disregard for our country. I would like to know, and I have asked him on repeatedly, what it is exactly about the Pledge of Allegiance that he declines to offer. I mean,
oppression, white supremacy, what the flag stands for. Here's what's really interesting, Matt. He could have said, salute, pledge,
and then step back.
And never said a word.
And step back, right.
But it's not, Matt, that's not what it's about.
It's about making it about him.
It's about clicks, follows, and press. Here we are, right? There are things that happen in the General Assembly that are meaningful things that are going to make Tennessee a better place to live. And unfortunately, we're wasting our breath on somebody that doesn't care about Tennessee at all.
Do you think that earlier this week, Representative Afton Ben, who is a newly elected representative, I guess it was a special session last year, from Davidson County.
Right here, wherever we sit.
Afton Ben got herself on the list to offer a prayer, and she brought up a constituent that was a member of the clergy from the, I want to say, United Church of Christ. I think I have that right.
I think so.
And I can't remember the person's name, but they were transgendered.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that Afton Ben was trying to get a reaction from the Republicans in the body. Do you believe that?
Yes, 100%. She was poking. When you've got 3 members who are trying to hog all of the Democrat spotlight, and she's a new member trying to carve her own spot, she's trying to get noticed. And it was a prayer. They really didn't poke any.
Were you there?
I was there. I was standing at my desk like I'm supposed to be standing at my desk. I stood at my desk. I listened to a prayer. Some parts of it I cringed a little bit at, some of the words that were used. But in general, it was a prayer that was encouraging to us doing our job. And then we said the Pledge of Allegiance. When our prayers are starting to get political in nature, which is, I think, what the ultimate goal is here, Matt, is to get us to say no more prayers on the House floor.
Right. And I talked to members of leadership about the process. And the process is simple, that if you're a House of Representatives member, you typically have one opportunity during a session year, a calendar year, to have one of your constituents come up. Mm-hmm. You get it on the schedule with the clerk. And really, as it was told to me by leadership, the only requirements are that it's an ordained member of the clergy.
That's correct.
And you don't really, qualify that by religious affiliation, just an ordained member of the clergy recognized in the state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And you are asked to keep it brief and not be political.
That's correct. That's it.
Right?
That's it.
So I do believe that the Republicans responded in the proper fashion, because I think that what Afton Ben wanted to happen, she wanted to see some pushback as to her selection, in hopes that it would lead to a greater conversation about, well, if you're going to say no to this person, then I get to say no to that person, and I get to say no to that. When you start delving into that level of content curation as to the specifics of the nature of the religion, then you're opening the door to stop all the prayer, which is what I think their goal was.
And like we don't have in K through 12 right now.
Right.
It is a means to an end for them. And Matt, I'm not going to play the game with them. I got more important things to do.
I just, and once again, I can't ask any more than I have, but I would be very curious the answer that you get from a Justin Jones of the world, that if the flag represents a nation so diametrically opposed to what you believe in, then why are you serving under it in the House of Representatives? Why are you a part of the system? You are a part of the system that you claim to hate so much that you can't honor that system with the Pledge of Allegiance.
That under that system has risen to one of the most powerful and prominent positions in government.
Right. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Unless it's a spectacle that is solely about you, which I think we've come to know that with Justin Jones, that is exactly what it is.
Clicks and follows and likes.
All right. More importantly, I want to get to the issue of education, which I know that you are laser focused on. Before we do, I promised that I would try to clear as many of these. This actually happened right before you came on, but Mark's been holding on out of Smyrna. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mr. Matt Murphy, Bell K. Love you guys.
What's up, man?
Hey, I don't know if she's trying to get pity out of this or not, but I've been working since I was 12. I'm 60. I've been running 2 jobs since I turned 16. And I really don't see how I could feel sorry for her at this point.
Yeah, this is in reference to, you might have missed this, Scott. It's in reference to TikTok girl who was crying, literally in tears about having to work 40 hours a week, and it gives her no time for herself.
And I'm still
40 hours, I know. Kind of funny.
I'm still working 70 hours a week. I drive truck during the day. I run pizzas at night and whatever I can do to go make cash on the side. And I put it all away so I don't have to worry about anything. When I retire, I'll be good. So my advice to these young people is maybe quit crying about working and just do it while you're young, because you're not going to be able to do it as easy when you get older.
Well, what it leads to, if we take this person seriously, and Mark, thank you. I wanted to get to you. It was it was a subject that came up last hour, but I get a little fearful because the mindset leads to this mentality that you have a right to the fruit of the labor of other people without having to offer labor yourself. Meaning, her point was, why do I have to work this hard to have a place to live? Why do I have to work this hard to have food?
Can I ask you a question, man?
Sure.
How old are you?
I'm 50.
And you work for WTN, right?
I do.
Is this your first job?
It is not.
Did you start at this level of broadcasting?
I did not.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
So, able to get here, what did you have to do?
I had to work up to the position.
You had to start somewhere.
Yes.
And over time, dedication, and sacrifice, you're at the position you are right now.
You know, we were talking about this
That's
earlier.
easy for him to say. He was born a
I
representative.
mean, yeah, look at him. I mean, you don't.
Do you know what my first job was?
He was born in that suit.
Do you know
Bill.
what-
You know he was.
Do you know what my first job was? Cleaning out stalls at St. Louis County Parks and Recreation of the animals.
That's nice.
And it paid me $5 an hour.
That's nice.
I don't do that anymore.
You know, my first gig was with my grandpa. I love this story. This is an absolute true story. It was right before I was 11 years old. It was the summer. I turned 12 in September, going to middle school. And I knew we were going to shop for school clothes. And I knew that we were going to shop at Kmart. And I hated Kmart. And all the kids picked on my Husky jeans. I wore Huskies. That was a Kmart brand. And I asked my grandmother if I could have Levi's because all the other kids had Levi's. And apparently a conversation ensued between she and my grandfather. And they never said a word to me. My grandfather, after I asked my grandmother about it, and she said, well, we'll see. My grandfather, the next morning, woke me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, said, come on, get your clothes on. I was 11. And I said, what are we doing? He said, we're going to work. And he took me to work with him. Now, I imagine for the first several months during that last part of that summer, it was a pain in the butt for my grandpa because I didn't know what I didn't know a butt from hole in the ground. I'm an 11-year-old, but he's telling me to go get wrenches for him. He was a mechanic. Go get me a 9/16. I don't know what that is. You'll find it. Just look for it. That kind of thing. It was all about getting me $20 at the end of the week. And by the end of that month, I had, I think, $80 or $100. And he said, now you can buy whatever clothes you want to buy. It's up to you. You can either buy those clothes or your grandmother can buy the clothes that we had originally decided to buy. That's teaching you work ethic,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
That's what that's all about.
You have, and most people know I have two young sons. I have two sons. And we were sitting around the kitchen table one day with my wife, and they're like, you know, Dad, when I get done going to school, I'm just going to start out right where you and Mom are. And I said, son,
Good luck.
we've been married for 26 years. We didn't start here. This is where we are in our life right now. We started out living in my mother-in-law's basement for about 2 or 3 years until we saved up enough money to go purchase our first home. Hard work, dedication, sacrifice. That's what our country was built on.
Yeah, but this TikTok girl, there's no work ethic there. Now, maybe I could choose to applaud her for at least working 40 hours a week, but the mentality that she's representing, she thinks she should get something without bringing something to the table, too. So it tells me that she doesn't recognize the value of food that she buys at a restaurant. She doesn't recognize the work product that goes into money. I mean, that money is just a representation of work, of labor. And I don't know. I don't know if we're losing that or not.
That's where families and education come in. Speaking of
education, we're going to get into that moments from now. Cepicky's got the latest lowdown on where we are regarding the scholarship program, the Freedom Scholarship Program, and we'll talk about it next. It's 122 on Super Talk. Talk 99.7 WTN 126. Matt Murphy and you. Scott Cepicky's with us. Representative Cepicky joins us on a weekly basis during the General Assembly to give us the lowdown. We feel like we get the real skinny when Scott's here. The real skinny.
Skinny, you've seen me?
I mean, yeah, you're not skinny, but you give us the skinny.
Wow.
I mean,
you're going to take that?
He's beefy. What?
Pain, despair, and agony on me.
Look, I got to call it like it is.
In your defense, you look like a cattle rancher.
I mean, you do.
Thank you, Bill.
You look like an ex-offensive
You are
like an
cattle
ex-offensive lineman.
Ooh, it even hurts more. I love you.
Well, I mean,
I was a punter.
You were not a punter.
Yeah, I was a punter.
You were a punter?
Yeah.
Dude, did you see his picture on his baseball card?
He used to be skinny.
What was that, 40 years ago?
Suddenly this became a roast. I mean, now we're...
I can see a bill coming for Cumulus right now. Triple taxation at WTN. Bill, what's your address?
He'll be
I live on the street.
Metro Nashville PD going to pay you a visit.
Education. I heard a lot of nasty talk about the initial proposal for the Freedom Scholarship. I mean, I admit that I've not delved into it because I knew you were coming on and you would give me the lowdown. What's going on?
Well, I think, when you're looking at a bill of this magnitude, you're going to see multiple copies of a bill, multiple reversions of a bill. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And I think what was released was a version that may have been from the 90,000 foot view. That was probably, remember the governor made this announcement, in November?
Yep.
December?
Yeah, back in, yeah.
I mean, it's a long time ago. And in the course of writing bills, a couple days is an eternity. And I think what got released there was an old version of an idea. Right now, the Senate, the House, we're working on language on how to figure out to make more of an education freedom bill, that addresses public and private. Mm-hmm. and school choice. We think, and just I'm going to ask everybody to be patient. Big bills like this take time, which you want them to take time. Matt, you don't want to rush into anything right here, and let us work through this process. And I really do believe that when the people of Tennessee see the work that we're doing, I think they'll be very pleased, not only with the results that this is going to bear for public education, the protections in place for our private institutions, and the opportunities for students who feel, our parents who feel their students' needs aren't being met, have another opportunity for them to seek something elsewhere. This whole gloom and doom you're hearing, Matt, is just politics.
Where are we in the process? So help me understand specifically. I mean, has the language of the bill been filed?
No.
So we've not even looked at a bill in a subcommittee yet.
Yeah, well, what we've done is we've talked about an idea, and then we're putting meat on the bone.
I'm hearing that first year there will be means testing. Mm-hmm. But the hope is that at some point it will graduate to opening it up to more broadly to all Tennessee families.
Well, I think what we're looking at is something more of the lines of how do we make sure that the families that are trapped in a failing school that cannot afford another option, how do we make sure that they go first and have the opportunity so that we don't have what happened in Arizona, where all of these rich families are applying for these scholarships and are just getting an extra money for their school that they can already afford. However, they should have an opportunity, but where do they fall in that? If we've got kids that are here in Metro Nashville all around us that are trapped in failing schools, how do we get them the opportunity?
Well, I mean, I understand that there are families in the state of Tennessee, and let's talk about this after we have the break, but there are families in the state of Tennessee that are working their butts off. Mm-hmm. They're working a couple of jobs. I mean, I don't want to suggest that all of these families that have gotten their kids into the private education system because of the failures of perhaps their public system are of means.
Right.
But I get what you're trying to prevent. You don't want those that can afford to pay, that choose to do so, necessarily in front of those who are trapped.
Right. It'll be universal school choice. It's just going to be a process of how you're going to get there, so we make sure.
Continue the conversation in a moment with Representative Scott Cepicky. It's 1:31 on Super Talk.
This report is and conditions not available in all states and situations.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A few additional moments with Scott Cepicky, representative out of Murray County, talking about education in the state of Tennessee and what we can expect. So we've heard. Hold on, I said Murray. Didn't I say Murray?
America.
Oh, I thought you were correcting my Murray. America. I mean, Scott and I'll say the Pledge of Allegiance if you guys want us to. Unlike one of his colleagues down at the House of Representatives, which still it sticks in my craw. I need to let it go because that's what he wants. He wants me to be thinking about it. So we've heard the basic parameters regarding the ability for parents to have some wiggle room and potentially to get some scholarship money to give them some of that wiggle room. Those basic parameters have not changed.
Pretty much.
As far as just for discussion purposes.
Matt, you've been doing this for a while. You know this is a living, breathing document.
I mean, I understand. Well, and that leads me to the question, and that is, when will we see? Because a lot of people are now, the General Assembly's on, everybody's meeting, and you're in speculation season now, where all of these media outlets are speculating about what might be or what might not be. They're hearing, rumor and innuendo in the halls, and they're snatching that up and running with it. When do you expect that we will see actual language?
If everything goes smooth, we're probably maybe best case scenario a couple weeks away. There's a lot of devils in the details that have to be worked out right now. That's where, Speaker Sexton and the governor and the Senate, I guess, is it Farrell Hale right now? Because Lieutenant Governor McNally is not here. I think it's Farrell.
Is it Jack or
I don't know.
I would think it would be Jack.
Whoever's over there. I mean, it would be
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson. They're working through the minutia of the ideas that we're coming up with on how to, like I said, it's not only to provide that opportunity for people to get a better education, but Matt, we're not going to move 1 million kids into private school. That's $10 billion. So we have to make sure that the classrooms that they're in these public schools are providing not only these teachers but these students the best opportunity to be successful. I think what you're going to see is an all-encompassing, or I hate to use that word, omnibus, that you're going to see a bill out there that's going to really revolutionize public education in the state of Tennessee that the rest of the country will take notice of. We've already done it with literacy, Matt. We're leading the nation in turnaround in English language arts.
So once we see this, do you think there will be the consternation that exists right now based on the speculation that we're seeing? Are you happy with the way the conversations have been going? I'm trying to ask you the question without asking you to open up the door and give me the intimate details that you can't give
The
yet.
first question, I believe, the answer is yes. I think we're going to get to a place that not only the General Assembly, but I think school boards across the state of Tennessee are going to say, wow, they finally listened to us. And I think when that happens, you're going to see a change in education in this state that we've been wanting for decades, that this General Assembly has the ability to make happen, along with the help of Governor Lee, the Senate, the Department of Education, and all of our locals, that they're finally listening to us about what we need to turn loose education in Tennessee.
We had Representative Gino Bolso on yesterday, Williamson County. Gino was carrying a bill 1605.
Mr. Flagman.
Yeah. I mean, where are you on that bill?
I support it. We're all Americans, right?
Yep.
And we're all Tennesseans.
Mm-hmm.
So we should honor that and stay out of the political stuff in the classroom. They're there to learn. They have plenty of time to figure out the politics of everything in life. Let's make sure that they can all read, write, they can do math, they understand what it means to be a Tennessean and an American in this country.
The devil's always in the details there about what constitutes display, what constitutes someone's ability to freely express themselves exterior to the classroom versus interior to the classroom. I've long said that, if you think you have full-throated free speech rights within the classroom, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Right? I mean, you don't.
You're wrong. We tell you what to teach.
Right.
We tell you how you're going to teach it. And we're going to test your students on your ability to disseminate that information to your students.
You're an employee
of the people of the state of Tennessee.
Right. And so someone has to be in charge of setting the rules of the road and the boundaries.
And that's where we come in.
And along, the General Assembly certainly, but then local school boards
That's
as
correct.
well.
The General Assembly's job, believe it or not, those counties, those schools, we're all a creation of the state government. And they function in a box. And so the box constantly gets adjusted off of what the General Assembly believes is best policy.
Mm-hmm.
And the best policy, and I know Representative Bussell very well, he is well thought in this. The best policy is, let's all recognize our commonalities, right? We are all Americans, and we're all Tennesseans that are in those classrooms in Tennessee. Let's focus on bringing unity to the class under those circumstances instead of the divisiveness of all these different flags create.
Well, right. And the argument is that, well, we're asking for equality or equal treatment under the law. And the response that I would give to that is yes, and you're going to get it. We're not going to allow any of that political speech to happen within an elementary school classroom, for example.
That's correct.
We're going to have a couple of flags up. We're going to have the United States flag. We're going to say the pledge to that, whether Justin Jones joins us or not.
Correct.
We're going to have the flag of the state of Tennessee. And beyond that, we're not going to politicize any of this.
Right. That's what we do. That's what we do. We take all that out of the classroom, so the focus is on education. That's it.
It seems that this is going to be characterized by the political left in the same way. I compared it to the quote unquote, and I hate doing this even though I do it every time, the quote unquote don't say gay bill in Florida, which didn't say anything about that, but that's how the political left chose to mischaracterize it. All that Ron DeSantis and the Republicans in Florida were saying, and you well know this, is look, there are certain times when in curriculum you're going to address these issues at later stages, but we don't need to be doing this in the second and third grade. It is way too early to address those issues from a classroom curriculum standpoint. That was it.
Against Palestinians in the West Bank is a new.
Oh, there we go.
There you have it.
Yeah, and there we have it. Yes, and also the Palestinians in the West Bank
support Israel.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, so you're ready for those mischaracterizations, and you understand the usual suspects are going to come out of the woodwork and scream that you're being, homophobic. Or whatever.
Matt, I'm tired of letting the left have the narrative. Okay, we have the narrative. We're going to drive the narrative home of we are unified as Tennesseans. We are unified as Americans. That's the one thing. September 11th, right? You know what happened on September 11th?
I do.
Whether Democrats or Republicans or whatever, it was America was attacked. We united behind what the flag meant, which is what makes me so mad about Representative Jones. We all have to come together of what we can all believe in. We can all believe in what the what America means to people. And by the way, as we're sitting here, there's probably another 30,000 that came across the border in Mexico to take part of that. Last time I checked, Matt, there's not people streaming into Mexico from the United States saying we want a better life. They're coming from Mexico, from Honduras, from Guatemala, from China, fill in the blank. We got to close that border.
What do you make of this? And I don't consider this new news. I'm not diminishing the reports that have come out that the Department of Homeland Security is sending out notices to cities in the state of Tennessee, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Nashville, that, hey, we're sending you these illegal aliens, essentially. It's not news that there are illegal aliens in Tennessee. We're all border states, we like to say. But this is making news. What do you make of it? Is there anything that state lawmakers like you, that the governor or anyone else within Tennessee can do more to try to prevent this flood specific to our state?
Well, the buses that come here from wherever they come from, we can send them to New York. We can send them to Chicago. We can send them elsewhere.
Just keep them on down the road.
Because what I understand is those cities really want them.
That's what they say.
And so if in Tennessee we want to keep our schools for our residents here that pay taxes and contribute to our society, and these illegals that are coming here that are overburdening our system, but other cities want them, we kind of have an obligation to meet their needs.
I am told by school teachers who obviously, and for obvious reasons, don't want to say this publicly, I'm told that even now, that they get regularly new students that are in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade that don't speak English, and they don't know what to do with it.
It happens every day, Matt. It happens every day in our school system right now. And under federal law, when they show up, I have to educate them.
Or, you have to do what you have to do. But if I'm that teacher And I know that, I mean, what do? You can't teach them the same curriculum. You have to dumb down the curriculum. If you do, I don't know what teachers are expected.
If you have a student in your classroom, Matt, that let's say you have 25 kids, and you get 2 or 3 of these kids that don't speak a lick of English, and they're in 5th grade, how do you teach the rest of the class at the same time?
I don't know.
Which is dragging our educational system down. We've got to figure out a way to solve this. And the way we solve this is Congressman Ogles and Senator Blackburn and all this, they've got to figure out a way to get that border closed because it's bigger than just Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got to get this border closed, and then we got to figure out who's here and who shouldn't be here and to get them out of our country. Now, if they want to come back, Matt, I'm all for that. Just follow the process.
Tim writes and says, my wife is a school teacher in Wilson County. She would very much like to speak with Scott. How can we get a hold of Scott?
You want me to give him my cell phone?
I mean,
number?
that's up to you. I'm not asking for that, but I'm asking the best way that someone like Tim can get a hold of you.
Tim, the best way to do it is call my office in the General Assembly, and my assistant will forward me your information. My number is 615-741-3005. 615-741-3005. And
9250, reflecting on our conversation about schooling, says, I have a hard time believing this. I have 4 children, and they've been in the Williamson County schools since 2018 until I pulled them 2 years ago. I came from Illinois, an area that unfortunately the schools were a lot better. I initially trusted Williamson County schools were the best, and I have a hard time now believing that that is true. I mean, that's a surprise to me, too, because I've heard that Williamson County is an example of how public education is succeeding in the state, but maybe not for everybody.
Well, it is. That's why the whole school choice thing, Matt, that parent thinks that her needs are not being met. If they qualify, she should have an opportunity to get her kids, because the kids that are in our school system right now, Matt, in 25 years are going to be sitting in the General Assembly, are going to be taking care of you, taking care of me, hopefully taking care of Bell.
Probably not.
Whatever's left of him.
Yeah, probably not.
Keeps losing weight.
He'll be dead by then.
But we have to make sure that our populace is educated so that they understand what it means to keep Tennessee moving forward.
And we need to keep an educated population in the state of Tennessee, so when they do get to the General Assembly, they don't defer on the Pledge of Allegiance. That kind of circles us back to the beginning, right?
There you go. Poke, poke, poke.
I mean, yeah, just ridiculous. Well, it tells me that you guys are doing a pretty good job in the General Assembly. If that's all Justin Jones has, he ain't got a lot.
He ain't got a lot.
Thanks, Scott.
My pleasure.
Here's Representative Scott Cepicky. We'll talk to him again next week.